Hello. I just wanted to share something regarding rigid forms and how to add them in for your organic studies in lesson 5 of drawabox. For context, in lesson 5, when you're drawing forms, right, you add something called additive forms on top of other forms to create a sense of solidity. So for example, this is an ellipse, right? So I'm just gonna add like an eyelids on top, right? One thing you can do is draw them like that, right? With drawabox, what we would do is basically draw them as solid shapes with a volume term, right? And obviously it's on top that you will have all the other lines and stuff, right? So one thing that I noticed while critiquing somebody on Discord today was basically they're trying to draw a rhino's head, and I think everybody knows how a rhino's head looks like properly from the front. So let's just go with the camel's example, right? You know how a camel has a hump on top, right? This is a rigid object. Now you can't really add it like you would a very soft object. So for example, if we have this form over here, right, you can't add it in a very smooth fashion, because once you do, you stray too far away from your original form and it just looks off. Another thing you can do as well, you can try adding multiple forms and stacking them on top of each other, but then it just looks messy, right? So one thing that I figured out for them was basically, when adding a form like that, obviously we will add one form that's like just to straighten up the back, right? Now when adding this, what we can do, instead of using a smooth shape, we can use a more rigid shape. But instead, okay, I'll just show it to you. Basically, we can add a square, but we're not adding any square. We're adding a square that is like squishy. So it has some, what do you call it? It has less rigidity to it, right? So what you can do is basically add a square that follows the contours, obviously, and you can add more additive shapes around this to like ground it, basically. And here you can add one over here. I think this is a much better way to go about it, rather than having a shape and adding forms like that again and again on top of it. I discovered that it is much better to just use a shape that we already know and are familiar of, like a box, and just make it less rigid in order to conform to a shape better. That's all I wanted to share. See ya.